So this month we started preparing our garden for next year, and part of that involved ripping out the old sweet corn plants that have been done for a while. Well, we found a couple watermelon. This was the biggest one, and it looks like it's ready to eat. Hi everyone, this is Angie and Ben, and welcome to our homestead. So in our Three Sisters garden this year, we grew a bunch of popping variety corn. Because we go through so much popcorn, we thought it would be interesting. We couldn't grow our regular eating corn near the popping corn because they can cross-pollinate with each other and mess things up. So basically we left these on the stalk for a couple months, waiting for them to turn brown and kind of crispy looking how it looks in this video here. Then we started just pulling them off, filling up this wheelbarrow, and let them age on the porch just a bit longer, try to get the bugs out of them, keep them out of the rain, things like that, just to make it easier to shuck when the time comes. We read that we're supposed to peel back the husk on the popping corn varieties until we're ready to process them. I'm not sure if we left them on the stalk for too long, but it seemed like half of these popping corn varieties have some sort of mildew or mold growing on them. And I wanted to reject most of those, but there were a few, as you can see here on the left, where I was able to break the part off of the cob that looked contaminated and keep the rest. Hopefully this is not a bad idea, but I guess we'll find out if we get sick. So I have a bunch of scraps of this 1x4 material. I cut it at a 45-degree angle to give us two different scrapers that we can use to try to get these corn kernels off of the cob. So this is our first time processing popping corn varieties of corn, and you can probably tell here that we kind of got a bit frustrated with some of the cobs, just trying to figure out how to get the stuff off. We grew a couple different varieties and they each kind of acted differently, and it took us a while, but we eventually got all of our larger cobs of corn processed. We still have a whole wheelbarrow full of the small ones, but at this point, with the amount we were able to get from this task, I'm not sure it's even worth trying to open up those small ones. Angie had the genius idea to use the wind coming out of our air conditioner condenser to blow the dust and the strings and the leaves and all that other debris out of the corn kernels. So we just kept dumping these trays back and forth using a napkin to kind of dampen the fall, and then all the extra stuff would just blow out of the trays. It seems like we're approaching peak season for our okra crops. We're growing both a green and a red variety. This is our first year doing this red variety, but we did notice that the red ones grow a bit skinnier than the green ones, and it's easier to let them stay on the plant for a few more days before they get too firm. In our experience, the firm ones, you can kind of test the firmness by squeezing them, or you can try to cut one with a nice knife. And if it's too crunchy to squish, or if it's too crunchy to cut, then you really need to reject it, throw it into the compost pile. But the red ones, they seem to stay skinnier even if they get longer. And the skinnier ones are less firm. So basically I need to go out and harvest these at least every other day. But as you can see here, some of these green ones get ridiculously too big, and we basically will lose an entire crop that way. One day of harvest, but they'll just be too thick to eat. So some meals we basically have exclusively red okra to eat. If we go on a vacation or something, the green ones would be much too big, much too firm to eat. So our large tomato crop is right across this walkway from our okra. And as you can see here, I'm not harvesting anything from it because the season seems to have stalled. I don't know if it's from the heat or what. Maybe the tomatoes will come back. But we did spend a lot of effort trellising the tomato plants this year. We have a lot of varieties, maybe 8 or 9 varieties of tomatoes. And usually I would spend most of my time picking tomatoes, but there's none to pick today. But as you can see here, our pepper crops are very bountiful. It seems like when the tomatoes slow down, at least in this climate in central North Carolina, the peppers and okra crops speed up. So we don't really have any sort of commercial system set up for selling these. So basically what I do is I just pick the peppers that have a red hue to them. That means they're getting a bit riper. If they stay on the plant too long, they're just going to fall off, or some sort of beetle or worm is going to get into it. So I try to pick them before they fall off, and then those are the first ones that I use in the kitchen. Other than that, you can see some of these bushes probably have like 30 to 50 peppers on them. Some of them don't have any, so sort of like the tomatoes, some of them just kind of stop growing for some reason. But basically I just kind of check them for bugs, harvest the ones that are the ripest, and let the rest of them just stay on the plant until we're ready to eat them. So another one of our experiments this year was the Three Sisters garden. We set up this garden on the other side of the property than our regular garden to make sure our popping corn wouldn't cross-pollinate with our sweet corn. So we did, we were trying to synchronize the corn growing with the green bean growing, but basically what happened was the corn got all brown. It was harvested, and you can see here some of the corns are even falling over, but we're just now getting the green beans. But the corn is so far gone that it's not really acting as a sturdy pole for the pole beans. They're just kind of breaking under the weight and falling down, and then it's free reign for the rabbits and the ants or whatever else is all over the beans. So it's kind of a pain to get to them, but we really thought that the deer ate all of our green beans. They're eating the flowers, which turns into the fruiting part of the plant. But recently, maybe with all the rain, it's kind of deterred the deer. And now that I can go through and pull the vines out, I'm finding that there's hundreds of perfectly intact green beans back there that you can't really see from a distance. So at this point, we're not really too concerned about keeping these vines intact and alive. The deer have done so much damage. There's also bugs on the ones that kind of fall on the ground. So while I can try to be careful and pull the beans off the vine, what's really happening is the easiest way is to just pull the whole vine off the corn and then just pick the beans off and then discard the leaves and whatever's left of the vine on the ground. I spent about 10 minutes picking these green beans, and I didn't even get halfway across the bed. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead just to show you how full the basket got. We continue to find some surprises in our garden, like these green beans, the occasional watermelon, even a pumpkin or two will show up unexpectedly. But we'll continue working throughout the year. As we have cooler weather, we'll be working on things like our compost pile, maybe removing some trees, getting things tarped off to process the land for next year. So there's plenty to do. But if you have any ideas of what we should be doing, let us know in the comment section. We'll be happy to respond, do some research, figure out how to do what you ask us to do, and we'll get it up on the YouTube. So as always, thanks for watching.